Good morning and welcome to episode 59 of the JaguarReport podcast. My name's Gus Logue, joined by my co-host John Shipley. Whew, John.
59.
50.
Dude, yeah, no, man. That to me was the most entertaining, like just from a football fan's perspective, Jags game since like their crazy run last year.
Yeah.
Like that just like 25-20 win over the Bills in London, improved to 3-2. They go 2-0 in London, which I mean, just to start off, guys, like I think that's insane. Like I know there are a lot of sour grapes with like even some national media and obviously, Bills Mafia, etc., about the Jaguars having the advantage of being there for 2 weeks. But I'm also, on the other hand, I'm like, dude, going 2-0 in London's insane. Like you should not have your entire process and everything thrown out of whack for 2 weeks in the middle of the season and be expected to go 2-0. So, I mean, that to me, it's easily the most productive and best London trip they've ever had since they started doing this thing, whatever the hell it is.
It's funny. Trevor's had like 3 crazy London trips in his 3 years because he got his first career win in the London game in his rookie year against the Dolphins. And then last year was like he had like the worst game of his career in London against the Broncos, or at least like it was a pivotal point in last season. And then going 2-0 this year is just so huge that I saw like a bunch of like post locker room videos and stuff like that on Jaguars YouTube, and they were all saying like that was our goal, 2-0 in London, and then go back home. So super impressive. Like the whole thing about like them having a rest advantage is like something that's worth being said because it is an advantage, but like we don't really have to like harp on it like more than that. Like there's plenty of rest advantages and disadvantages that happen every week in the NFL. So like I don't know. There's a lot of other different reasons that the Bills lost.
Yeah, and this won't help the Bills sleep, obviously, but like for as much as maybe an advantage that the Jaguars got, they're at a disadvantage, now this week going back to the States and having everything thrown out of whack again. But, I mean, you look at the game and like how it went and like just starting off with the Jaguars offense, like it really should have been more than, 25 points. And that's what I think has to make you feel optimistic about the offense is that it was by far, and even by the numbers. I mean, you tweeted yesterday how it was Lawrence's best game by, EPA. I mean, by the numbers, it was by far the Jaguars' best game offensively. EPA per play, success rate, EPA per drop back, all that. And it was still like several plays left on the field. Like Anton Harrison, 2 penalties that negated like 40 yards and 2 big first downs. That near 31-yard to Evan Ingram, which not really a drop. It was more like a really good play by Dane Jackson. Maybe even like one of Lawrence's missed opportunities in the game.
I wanted to ask you about it because I was like, I would probably say it's like a slight underthrow by Lawrence. And it's like not necessarily anyone's fault, but I don't know. Kind of like tie goes to the runner. Like if you're not really sure, then just like the blame goes to the quarterback. So Lawrence technically could have put it in like a slightly better spot. But
which is like crazy looking at his numbers that he could have had like a 31-yard touchdown added on there. And then obviously the 2 fumbles in the red zone, Cam Robinson beat for 1 by AJ Epinesa, which, 3.5 years later, my Epinesa draft takes are finally taking shape. I knew I'd get there eventually. I knew that's
a monster game. Holy cow! Didn't he have like 3 tipped passes by himself?
I think so.
It was so funny because like the tipped pass kept happening, and it was like what is going on? It's just the fact that it was him every time was insane.
We'll get into this when we talk about the offensive line, and I want to talk about Cam's performance specifically. But that one sack he had, like Jaguars fans have no idea, like maybe how lucky they are. Like that was the Aaron Rodgers play, like the one he got hurt on. Like left tackle cuts because, if you ever see the like offensive tackle cutting on a passing play, it's because he's not supposed to be blocking for more than a second. Like the ball's supposed to be out, and Trevor obviously, first read wasn't there, held onto the ball. Probably did the opposite of what he's supposed to do, which is run towards the guy who had just gotten cut and got sacked. I know a lot of people killed Cam for that, but that was one of those like super fluky plays, and I think that was the play that like it looked like his hip maybe got a little banged up on. They started like
Oh
treating
yeah.
him. Yeah, so it was an interesting play, but I thought overall like all those missed opportunities, the 2 fumbles, even that stat that Trevor Lawrence was 9 for 10 on 3rd and 4th down. His one incompletion was a dot to Zay Jones on the sidelines that he didn't bring in.
Yeah, I was trying to think, was there any other drops that happened? There was that one to Zay, and then you could maybe kind of sort of call that Ingram one a drop if you're being pretty harsh about it. Were there any like other drops that happened during the afternoon? Because
our good friends at Pro Football, Seth Galina, credited Travis Etienne with a drop, and him and Zay with a drop. That was it. Ingram didn't get one, which probably going back and look at the replay is probably fair.
Right. So there's the Ingram one, Etienne drop, Zay drop. That's 3. I'm just trying to like think of like all of his incompletions, because then there's 3 batted passes, so that's 6. But like, man, it's crazy how like he had a career it was his career best game in terms of total expected points added, but like you kind of like have to look at it through an advanced stat metric, because when you look at just his box score, like it almost doesn't even seem like that impressive. Like it was like 315 yards, but not like a crazy good completion percentage and only 1 touchdown. He's been like lights out since pretty much the Denver game last year, but he has 6 combined passing touchdowns in his last 8 regular season games, which is just like the most Jag stat ever, I guess.
Yeah, no, like I feel like he's legitimately been a top 5 quarterback this season, and like now now that he plays great on national stage, now everybody is like you're starting to see the narrative finally kind of correct itself some. But to me, he's played really good football all season. He got really unlucky in week 2, supremely unlucky in week 3. Week 4 played a good game, was lights out versus the Colts in week 1, and then obviously Sunday. I feel like he's had a great season, but he's literally on pace for 17 passing touchdowns, and it's the most Jaguars thing ever. They have a dude who literally can hit every single throw and just not throwing touchdowns, which
I don't know. It
doesn't matter. That's my question to you. Does it matter? If they win, if they win, does it matter?
Like once we get to the playoffs and stuff, like I don't know.
You don't think they can squeak out 23-point wins, like scoring 23 points and winning a playoff game?
I mean I think they could in the playoffs, but I wouldn't like bank on that for 3 or 4 games in a row.
Okay, here it goes. You want them to start throwing every 1st and 1 to try to get him some stat padding. You want him to be what they call.
I mean, they definitely like upped their 1st down throw rate this game, and it worked out pretty well. They definitely upped like their play action rate a little bit too, especially on those early downs. And Lawrence was pretty like lights out from play action.
It felt like early on, like the first 2 drives, you could tell it was just going to be one of those days. Like in the games where he's able to rip one of those like deep over routes to Christian Kirk near the sideline, it just feels like, okay, that's like he's going to be hot that day. And that's what it was yesterday, I felt like.
Yeah, he's so good, those sideline shots. Someone asked me this week on Twitter, like, why there's not a lot of over-the-middle targets in the Jags offense. And my first thought was that it was just, like, has to do with the size of Jacksonville's receivers.
Yeah.
Like, they don't have, like, T. Higgins who can, like, run a dig over the middle of the field and then take, like, a really big hit after making, like, a contested catch. Like, they just don't really have that right now. If anything, Marvin was probably, like,
yeah, for sure. Zay, maybe.
Yeah, that's true. But now that I think of it, honestly, like I wonder if it's a Lawrence thing where he's just like, because especially thinking back to like Clemson, he was just like throwing like smash routes every other play, and like just like he's really good at those sideline throws.
I mean, his best throws this season, like I feel like all are those kind of those like outbreaking routes like toward the sidelines, and it seems like every time they get like quarters coverage, especially like guys just dropping vertically. And now they have somebody in Ridley who can like make every route look the same. It's really, making it look that much more crisp. And I hate to give you credit. I do. But Calvin Ridley week. It was a Calvin Ridley week. There you go. Soak it in.
I said last week if it was going to be if the Jags win, Calvin's going to have more yards than Steph Diggs Diggs had 121 receiving yards. Ridley had 122.
Oh,
So
God.
I feel pretty good about that one.
I hate that.
He his like role in the offense is like pretty much I feel like has been the same the entire season, but now he's just like kind of like starting to come down with all the tough plays, and like it was nice to see him get involved early in the game with like end arounds and stuff like that, and a couple
Yeah,
rush attempts.
for sure.
That reminded me, like I feel like they did a good job of getting him going in week 1 against the Colts because he had like a couple of screens, and we talked about like, oh, is he going to get those like RPO looks going forward, or was that like just to get him going? So I think the Jags did a nice job of like getting him going early a little bit this week, and then he was able to finish the job. Like right now, the play of the season might be the slot fade that happened on like 3rd and 6 with 4 minutes left or 3 minutes left in the fourth quarter. But like I agree with your earlier sentiment that Lawrence has been playing great all season. I feel like this is just the game where like everything else around him kind of clicked, like because he threw a slot fade to Ridley to start off the Texans game, right? And Ridley dropped it. And then this time another perfect throw on a slot fade with like a mismatch drawn up by the Jags coaching staff. And then Ridley comes down with it this time. So they're just starting to shoot themselves in the foot less. And Trevor's playing like just continuing to play great.
Yeah, I mean, yesterday on 3rd down to Ridley, it was 3 for 3 for 56 yards and a 15-yard penalty drawn that Rich Eisen is still not over, evidently. But it felt like Ridley, had his best game as a Jaguar. Like it caught everything that came his way, but like almost half his targets came in like high leverage situations, which is what makes it like, because if anybody you felt like was maybe pressing a little bit in those high leverage type situations over the first month, it'd probably be him. But came through in every one of them. And I felt like the beauty of the passing game against the Bills was that it was all spread out like much better than maybe it was earlier in the year. Like him, Kirk, and Ingram each had 8 targets apiece. Zay had 5, even though he left after like 41 snaps. Etienne, I believe, had 5. Like they just, coupled with Luke Farrell, they just spread the ball around much better. I will say I'll take an L on my take that Brendan Strange would catch more passes than Dalton Kincaid. Yeah,
you weren't too far off.
What was it? 2 catches for like 19 yards. Like
one
of the most useless picks this year. I'm sorry, dude. Like first round tight ends, dude. It's stupid. Then again, Sam.
Yeah, what about second round tight ends?
Yeah, they didn't already have the exact same player already on the roster. I got a take for you.
You know what's crazy is I was just thinking about how I see like Josh Oliver like blocking highlights on my timeline like every 2 weeks. It's crazy. But what's the take?
Did you see the Vikings? They had like 8 like lost fumbles entering Sunday, and then the first play of the game was a Josh Oliver fumble.
Apparently, they had like 8 lost fumbles all of last season. So crazy, it's like dude. The regression came for them real hard.
Now, my take before we get back on track is Laporta is already better than TJ Hawkinson's ever been. Yeah, come on.
Laporta. Okay.
Hawkinson's one of the more overrated players in the NFL, in my opinion.
TJ Hawkinson is?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's fair. He's definitely like just one of those, like he's like what Austin Hooper was like 5 years ago. Like he had a really good season, but like pretty much based on volume. And like he's like a nice player, but not like a top 5 tight end.
Yeah.
Maybe Hawkinson's a top 5 tight end. He's definitely better than Hooper, but I get where you're coming from. Yeah. The thing about Laporta, though, is I feel like every single highlight of him, he's got like, there's no defender within 10 yards around him. So it's like, I don't know if he's actually that good or if he's just like a fast guy at his position, and like the Lions offensive coordinator, Ben Johnson, is just that guy.
Speaking of tight ends, are you ready to get bulky bold?
Yeah, I'm ready as well.
Okay. Would you rather have a Week 5 win over the Buffalo Bills to help correct an entire season and have a good chance to get first place in the AFC South, or a rookie guard with 2 pressures allowed and 2 penalties in the same game?
No way. No way you're dragging Osiris back into it.
You tell me. Yeah. No. All the weeping and sewing. No. All the hand wringing over Osiris Torrance Brendan Strange had a better block on the ETN touchdown than Torrance had all day. He's a Billy Napier merchant.
Oh man,
I don't mean that last
that's
part.
cruel. That's cruel. That's a tough one.
You got masterclassed.
Well, I mean,
The only thing he did he did two things all game. He had a false start and he made a great block. So
that's true.
He officially has more penalties and catches this year.
Oh,
but
that's a stat.
The block on the ETN touchdown, it's funny because it's like perfect block by a young tight end, super encouraging. But you're still like, why are you spending a second round pick on that? But it doesn't matter. You got bulky ball. Brendan Strange for the second time this year, won the blocks of the year. And I can see, in your head, you want a 90-10 pass run ratio. You don't think run blocks count. Yeah. So you got masterclassed.
I'm not Doug Peterson over here. Come on.
Okay. I mean, the running game in general, it felt like for the first 3 quarters, they were mostly banging their head against the wall again, kind of like the week before. But
yeah, I like the Falcons game again.
Yeah, but ETN, even on the few successful rushes he had, before he broke off a couple long runs, that to me was and for reference sake, I have not seen the All-22 to really judge his vision, which I still think if you watch through the first month of the season, it was still kind of a work in progress. But I thought just his contact balance yesterday, the way he was forcing missed tackles, regardless of who was in there on defense, that was, I think, the best he has looked in a Jaguars uniform, just purely running the ball.
Yeah, I think that's a fair take. I think you can kind of see a difference in physicality just because he's dealt with kind of cramps and not being able to finish a lot of games, especially down the stretch of last year. But even cramps popped up once or twice in the beginning of this year. But then for him to finish each of these 2 London games and kind of just keep going the battering ram thing where it feels like every play is an HB dive, but then the fourth quarter comes around and he's starting to break these arm tackles and again finishing games. I thought that was a big reason the Jags drafted Tank Bigsby was not just short yardage but also just for that physical element you look in and finishing games. The ETN has provided that the past 2 weeks, and I'm with you. Even if obviously the 35-yard touchdown was a nice highlight, but even if he's not breaking 20-yard plays every other drive, he's been looking really good.
His first touchdown and a 2-point conversion were just plays where you're if he can get the edge at all, he's going to be able to take advantage of it. And he did it against an athletic defense too. It wasn't it was a slow defense. It was still even with the injuries, a relatively athletic back seven. So I thought it was, a really impressive outing from him. And, the fact that, Tank has basically become, an afterthought at this point. I think he had 15 snaps, 3 carries for 8 yards. I mean, he had a nice 7-yard run in there, but he's still – it felt like to me, his first run, I think it was third and 1, and he the first drive, and he lost a yard. But he literally never had a chance. Quan Jones, literally baptized, Fortner. And that, to me, that play kind of summed up, maybe it was just a miscalculation in the offseason thinking the problem with the running game, the short yards running game, was the running back as opposed to maybe it was the blocking in front of them. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And, yeah.
He couldn't do anything on most of the touches that he got, which it's not it's not protecting the pick or anything like that. It's still to me, now that you look at see how ETN's running and how their offensive line's running, obviously you don't make picks for just this year, you make it for the future. But right now it looks like a relatively weird pick would probably be the nicest thing, the nicest way to put it. But I think that's mostly because their miscalculation was that, it's the running backs that need to be more physical as opposed to they need a better offensive line, because that's what I thought when watching that running game yesterday. That me and you said it. There was just a mismatch on the interior. Even after DaQuan Jones got hurt, Ed Oliver had one of the best games of his career. Right. So it was just, I thought, a really good example of, okay, maybe the Jaguars, this is where they went wrong and how they approached their short yards issues this offseason.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm just like kind of baffled that like they like thought a running back could like fix the issues because it's like you already tried drafting or like a running back to solve your short yardage issues and Snoop and like that didn't work. So then you like tried it again and
with a
so
higher pick.
yeah, it's like it's too early to really say anything about like Tank individually, but like the running back selection,
Like the
like
process in general, I think, is
yeah,
more curious than the player.
yeah. I feel like I've said at some point in the offseason, I don't know when, but I definitely said that like Jacksonville's biggest 2024 need is going to be left guard, and I like yeah, or
Yeah,
just more generally like
yeah,
interior offensive line. I feel like is easily the offense's biggest
for
issue.
sure. And I mean, Walker Little getting hurt on the 11th play of the game, obviously super unfortunate. Peterson said
Bring that
today.
up during bulky balls. A guard might be helpful right about now.
Yeah. What to do? What get holding penalties to completely delay drives? Come on.
Okay,
Tyler Shatley had a Tyler Shatley had a better game than your boy.
okay.
Yeah, I don't
I
care how
would
many years he spends at Louisiana. He plays a game for Florida, and he's your boy. But moving forward, that applies to all Florida NFL players. But I mean, like Walker Little, I thought like obviously super small sample size, but in the 11 snaps he had a guard, like he looked good, dude. He looked really, really good. And Doug Peterson said today that he was getting an MRI. They'll see, obviously what it says. Who knows? Like I said earlier, I thought Cam Robinson honestly had a really clean game. He was literally
yeah.
credited with one pressure. I thought, yeah, the one pressure he allowed obviously can't happen. Just got completely sped by AJ Epinesa, who isn't that kind of pass rusher really to begin with, anyways, to force a strip sack. So obviously that can't happen. But otherwise, he had a really clean game, I thought. Like
I thought it was encouraging because like there was like some stuff that was like he might not even like start as
yeah,
soon as this past week, and like kind of like Doug had to see a good week of practice out of him for him to have like a good week of practice and kind of like earn the starting job back as soon as he came back, and then like you said, like the one mistake is like inexcusable, but at the same time that was really his like one big mistake, and
it
so it
was
was like a cleaner and more consistent game than I probably would have expected, even though he is
100%.
a 4 or 5 year veteran at this point. Like he was coming back off of like season ending injury, not just of a suspension. So
Yeah,
I was encouraged.
he hadn't played since week 11 of last year, which is pretty long layoff.
Really? Was that the
Yeah,
Dallas game? I thought you played against Dallas.
I may be completely wrong with that. Maybe more like week 14 or something like that. Yeah, it probably is more week 14. Yeah, don't look at it. Don't look at it. We can just the
It's
vibes.
too late. I'm already looking up. I'm
The
gonna go.
vibes. Okay, here we go.
The Cowboys were week 15.
Week 15. Okay. Yeah, yada yada yada
Week
yada.
11 just kind of too
Okay,
far off.
since week 15 last year, and
Yeah.
I I'm not football smart enough to know this, but I would love to see who was wrong on the play where him and Anton pulled into each other.
I feel like it was definitely Anton just based on like the look that Cam gave him. Because like I don't like yeah, I haven't like looked back at the play, but I
That
just
was a hilarious
remember
play.
specifically seeing that like that like Cam was pissed off and that it
That,
seemed like it was just like a rookie mistake.
that was the most like Maction looking play you're gonna see like at the NFL level. It
Yeah.
was good stuff. Hey, other than Cam though, I think not even other than Cam, I think the best lineman though on Sunday was Brandon Sheriff. Second game in a row, 0 pressures allowed. He's one of just a handful of guys over the last 2 weeks who hasn't allowed a pressure in straight up 2 games combined. You look at obviously Daquan Jones didn't play as long, but you still have Ed Oliver who's having a career game, on the other side of him. He still lined up against Sheriff a good amount. I thought Sheriff had a really good game. Anton, it was obvious probably one of his like lower games. I think he was credited with 3 pressures. He had the 2 penalties. And it felt like a rookie game, but I will say I felt like overall it was probably a step in the right direction for the offensive line. It was just like a few bad plays looked really bad, and
Right.
I will also say it's probably time to be a little concerned about the center position because, like, getting beat badly by Daquan Jones is one thing, but to consistently, have plays blown up is another thing. But I know it's a hard job. I don't get it how NFL centers snap high. Like, I get missed time snaps, like super loud environment. Obviously everybody's amped up. I get that. I think Baltimore had one yesterday where the center snapped it and then Lamar wasn't expecting it. I get that, but just straight up shooting it over the quarterback's head, I'm not sure how that happens.
Yeah, honestly, if anything, I feel like it would be easier to like when you mess up to just skid the ball on the ground, like to the quarterback's feet. If you're gonna mess up snapping it one way or another, I feel like that'd almost be easier to do. But yeah, it's like
and they can't put Shatley in there. He's at guard now.
Right. Nothing's like really changed in terms of like the center position. It's just like there's always been like multiple. It's felt like there's been like multiple blown blocks from that position since he was drafted, and like we just kind of like keep waiting around for him to like put on a little bit more mass and like get stronger, and like hopefully down the line he'll be able to like handle NFL defensive tackles better. Because then on the other hand, like you have coaches and players being like, "Oh, he's like such a smart guy, and like he's invaluable to us in terms of like setting protections and this and that." But it's like, at what point is that like not worth it when he's like allowing multiple quarterback hits? Like it's definitely a concern.
Yeah, no, I'm definitely there with you. All right, we're gonna break real quick and then we'll get into defense. All right, guys. It's time for the respect Mike Caldwell movement, isn't it? Dude.
Like bow. Oh my god.
He won't get any love, I think, from like a lot of like big media this week because Josh Allen still went kind of crazy in the box score by EPA and stuff. It wasn't a great performance, but I don't care, dude. Like 4 straight, like forced punts. Like I think 2 first downs, I want to say, in the first 4 drives. Like Buffalo, yeah. So Buffalo had literally punted 7 times the first month of the season, and like Jacksonville just consistently was getting them off the field, and it was like Buffalo did shoot themselves in the foot a few times. Like James Cook had a drop here and there, but the Jaguars like were making the little plays that counted. Like Dalton Kincaid catching one of his 2 passes for the month of October. Trey Herndon was able to tackle him 2 yards short of the marker, even though it was incredibly close. Just small plays like that. And I felt like a lot of the Bills' plays that did end up like flipping some of the field positions was literally just Josh Allen being Josh Allen. I'm not even sure what you can do better. Like I do think there was that one. I'm not sure if you'd call it blown coverage or if it was just like it was a perfect route concept. Like Diggs' first big catch, it was like a 40-something yard gain where Darius and Tyson were on the same side of the field, and they both went with, I want to say it was like a corner route, and then Diggs just blew past them. I'm not sure who would be at fault for that, but otherwise, I thought like anything the Bills got was literally just Josh Allen being Josh Allen, and the Jaguars otherwise were able to make them fight for like legit every yard.
Every single yard. Like the coverage was insane because the Jags' run defense was awesome. For Bills on early down rushes, they had 9 attempts. 0 went for a first down. 2 of them were successful by EPA per play. And they lost negative 0.44 EPA per play. So basically every first or second run by the Bills, like take half a point off the scoreboard for them. The Bills had an average of 5.2 yards to go for a first down, which like would be the lowest distance to go for any team in the league this year. But even though the Jags like didn't do a great job of forcing a ton of second and longs and third and longs, but they just forced a ton of third downs in general. And then like, so the run defense kind of like got them into a bunch of third downs. And then I feel like the coverage in the back end is what got them off the field from those third downs, because I tried to tell you on the podcast last week, like the pass rush, like
rush rush.
It was like the slow rush. It was like in the first half, like especially, like I felt like
it wasn't by design.
Yeah, you're probably right. But like,
It was not.
what I'm more so trying to say is that like the coverage was just so good.
For
Like it
sure.
bought so much time for the pass rush to like eventually get home or eventually to pressure and like rush Josh Allen. So yeah, they started off 1 for 5 on third downs, and I've got the drive chart up here. Um, bear with me one sec.
I mean,
The first drive was 3 plays, 8 yards, punt. Then 3 plays, 9 yards, punt. 6 plays, 18 yards, punt. 4 plays, 19 yards, punt. Touchdown drive, end of half.
yeah.
And then
So
like by then it was like 20-7 or whatever.
yeah, and I think your point about like them stopping the run was the main thing. Like take away Josh Allen's runs, and the Bills had 8 carries for 15 yards, like among the 3 running backs. And Josh
Yeah.
Allen also had the longest run of the day. So like the Jaguars were able to make them completely one dimensional. And I guess the next step is for the Jaguars to be better at stopping, kind of the downfield heaves, like moving forward when you play like these alien type quarterbacks. Because I feel like Justin Herbert would have had the same kind of statistical day. Like he still would have been able probably to launch a couple bombs, but otherwise, I thought, Darius Williams' interception on. It was. I think Allen even said after the game that he underthrew it some. Like the pass rush made him, probably get rid of it quicker than he wanted to. But
Mhm.
him snagging that ball away from Stephon Diggs, I think is their play of the season so far.
Mm.
Like, is there any doubt that Buffalo scores a touchdown if that doesn't happen? Like Buffalo gets into the red zone, they
Yeah.
score.
No, it felt like that like Chiefs Bills divisional round game from a couple years ago where like the fourth quarter started and then all of a sudden there was a touchdown happening every 5 seconds. So it felt like that's what the Bills were about to do, and they kind of did do that. Like just start scoring automatically. Yeah, what
It,
that was definitely a massive interception and just
and
massive.
I just feel like the Jaguars keep getting in the right calls too. Like there was one third down where Josh Allen got pressured on a slot blitz by Trey Herndon and had to get rid of it. Wasn't able to get it. Like it just feels like Mike Caldwell right now is pushing all the right buttons, and
Mhm.
he's doing it, in my opinion, with like one quality pass rusher. Like PFF, yesterday, Josh Allen, Trayvon both got credited with, 4 pressures. Obviously encouraging for Trayvon to get 4 pressures in a game, considering he had 8, entering it. So that's obviously encouraging. But like just looking at the quality of the pressure win, Josh Allen had an 18.2% win rate. Trayvon had 9.4%. It really goes to show that like Mike Caldwell is like really putting together a top defense that is playing well against like Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen, the two best
Yeah,
quarterbacks in the NFL, and he's doing it for literally just Josh Allen, like rushing the passer.
yeah. I think like the fact that he only has one pass rusher, and like the fact that the communication and the coverage has been so good are like the two biggest things that point to how well coached this defense is and like how much credit the defensive coaching deserves. Especially because like it's the same like 5 secondary players between Darius Williams, Tyson Campbell, Trey Herndon, Andre Cisco, Rayshon Jenkins. So like
For sure.
after Shaq Griffin was placed on IR in like week 4 or whatever early last season. So like they've had the same coverage unit for about a year. And like the fact that it's gotten just significantly better with nothing but just a year in the system and coaching and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, like hats off to Mike Caldwell. Where's he coaching next year? We asked last week,
Tear
right?
down. Yeah. Would the Bears really hire a first time head coach, defensive minded guy for the second time in a row? Darn right they would. Tear down, baby. That's the
Yeah,
call. That or
apparently the Bears
Washington.
like never hire coaches with experience or something.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sadly.
So either him or God, it's gonna be Lincoln Riley. That's my other one.
I wouldn't mind seeing Lincoln in the league.
Yeah.
That'd
Yeah.
be
There,
fun.
there you go. But I think your point about the secondary is great because you think about the secondary yesterday. I thought Cisco had another really good game. That pass breakup he had on Dawson Knox was just like a straight up bully play.
Yeah.
That should have been it was a great throw. Should have been a first down conversion. On first look, it looked like it was, and then Cisco just made a great play on the ball. I thought Jenkins had a really strong game, both in coverage and against the run. That one tackle for loss he had was a crazy play.
Loss, that was awesome. There was a lot of cool plays, but that was definitely one of the cooler ones.
Definitely. I think Trey Herndon is honestly playing at like a high level for his role, right now, like for what they ask him to be.
Yeah.
Tyson Campbell got toasted by Stephon Diggs on the touchdown, but it's Stephon Diggs,
Yeah, he's going to do that against all but like 2 NFL corners probably. Maybe
his coverage against him on the one deep route earlier in the game, I thought was one of Tyson's best like cover plays of the year. And then Darius Williams, like even in games where maybe he gets beat, like sometimes like he's generating negative plays. And that was the big thing that, I wrote at halftime yesterday, like in the first half, the defense was dominant and all they really needed to do to wrap things up was generate more negative plays. And Darius Williams has been the guy to do that the last, couple of weeks. So how much does the defense improve to you? Like it's already good now, but how much does it improve to you if they get this, obviously, and if that like permanent question mark, because nobody really knows what's going on, if they get Devon Hamilton back, but also adding in DeJuan Smoot back and Devin Lloyd coming back this week, how much better can this defense get just like getting some of their, banged up guys back on the field?
Right. Well, I said last week that my hot take last week was that they were going to be the number 1 run defense in the league after week 10, just assuming that Ham will be back by then. And because the Niners play the Jags in week 10 and the Niners are really good. So I was just having a little bit. But I'm in a group chat with JP Acosta, and he said this morning, like, hot take, the Jags are going to be a top 10 defense by the end of the season. I looked it up. Right now, they're the number 10 defense by both DVOA and expected points added. So, like,
they already are.
They're already a top 10 unit by the metrics. They're a top 10 unit by, like, the film and what we've seen against Josh Allen and Pat Mahomes. Like, the pass rush is still a little bit concerning, just like with the depth that they have there, and like with the production that they're getting out of all their players not named Josh Allen. But like, I don't see why they won't be a top 10 defense for the rest of the season.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree with you. And I would say that's probably like the one question right now is, the pass rush. Right now, just by win rate, Josh Allen is among all edge rushers with 50, pass rushes or more. He's tied for 28th, which leads the team. Trayvon's at 60th, and Caleb Vaughn's at 98, and that's out of 106. So, like, it's like literally the Josh Allen show right now, So it's I got a name for you.
A name?
Yeah, I got a name for you.
Yeah.
Okay, close your eyes.
Okay.
Close them. I'm not going to do it till you close.
They're closed.
All right, you ready?
They're all closed.
Trade deadline. Bulky ball. Carl Lawson.
Carl Lawson.
Healthy and active yesterday for the Jets.
Yeah, he's the guy that used to be on the Bengals.
Yep.
Did he tear his Achilles? Is that what his injury was?
I think so.
Okay.
That was like 2 years ago. He's fine.
Yeah, he's fine. I thought you were going to say.
God, there.
Josh Uche was the name I was picturing that you were going to say.
No.
He's another AFC East pass rusher on a failing, flopping team.
Carl Lawson, healthy and active yesterday. I would imagine they would give him away. And the Jags and Joe Douglas have already done business together, last year with James Robinson, which not sure if that helps or hurts the case. But I feel like they have to add like another pass rusher, like who's not a returning DeJuan Smoot, because I feel like that caveat has to be added because they feel like it feels like that's what they're relying on.
I almost feel like they're probably going to be like overconfident in themselves, or they might be, and be like, I don't know, like we did pretty good against Mahomes and Josh Allen, like with this pass rush. So with like Trayvon and Josh could just continuing to get better, and then coming back, like we'll be fine.
1 sack between the 2 games, by the way.
Yeah, but like,
no, yeah, I think that's what they're gonna think too. I think so, but
I could see them talking themselves out of like making an unnecessary ad. Like Randy Gregory would have been one that's like he got picked up by the
I wouldn't.
Niners. Maybe
I
not a
wouldn't
lot
have done
of
that
it.
honestly.
Hmm?
I wouldn't have done that if I was them, honestly. I know they got killed for it, but he's been really bad this year. Like, the Niners can do it because they have, like, they already
Yeah.
have depth and not much to lose. But
Yeah. I'm not like opposed or like I don't really care that they didn't do it. I just know that it was like that's like the type of move that we would see them make.
no, 100%. And I feel like as it gets closer to the deadline, maybe you see that kind of sense of urgency, creep up a little bit more. But I mean, they have 3 6-round picks for next year, a 7th-round pick, plus they're getting some comp picks coming in, so they have room to move around. Like if they want to get somebody who like, I wouldn't imagine they make a blockbuster deal. Like they're not going to get Daniil Hunter or anything like that.
Mhm.
But if they want to like throw like some late round picks for a guy on a bad team like a Carl Lawson, I think it makes a lot of sense.
I'm excited. What is the trade deadline like Halloween this year? Or it's usually
I,
around Halloween.
I had to sneeze. I'm sorry. Yeah, no, it's around Halloween. Yeah, it is Halloween.
Oh, October 31st. That's cool.
Yeah, spooky.
It'll be it's already October 9th. When did that happen?
I'll
We
get
got
married
less
in 4
than a month
months.
to go now.
Yeah.
I got less than a month to go through all the like the bad teams and see if they have any expiring contracts.
Yeah. So
For Jags 6th-round pick.
start with the Giants. Second worst team in football. I told them. I told them, Gus. I told them.
All right, you got anything else on defense?
No, not at all. We're going to break real quick and come back with our game balls. All right, Gus. I'm going to presume to know what your offensive game ball is, but go ahead and just deliver it, and let's hear it. Go ahead.
The 2 easiest for both sides of the ball of the season, in my opinion. Offense is Trevor Lawrence. My hot take is that this was the best game of his career.
Okay.
Like, I know the Chargers game is definitely up there, but like
Titans, like the first Titans game last year.
The first Titans game was sweet, but like this was just like from the first quarter through the fourth quarter, like just consistently incredible. Because like the Ravens game, like that fourth quarter drive, like I would probably say like as an accolade, like that was his best drive ever. Was the fourth quarter finish against the Ravens.
I'm with you.
But then like the Ravens, like they kind of got off to a slow start and had to like mount like 2 different 10-point comebacks, if memory serves. And then like against the Titans, he definitely had a really good game, but I feel like the game was kind of over in the first half. The Chargers game was awesome, but he was also threw 4 first half interceptions. Yeah. So like just from start to finish, when you consider like all the different throws that he made, all the pressure that he was under, the opponent that he was facing, like best game of Lawrence's career.
I don't disagree. I don't disagree. I think
so maybe it's not even like a super hot take, but like, like obviously anyone who watched it was like, okay, yeah, Lawrence is like that guy. That was a really good game, but I think that was the best one that I've seen.
That play where he hit ETN on the free play after escaping the rush, that one of the best plays of his career, you think? I don't care that it only got like 9 yards. Like just like from start to finish. What a crazy athletic play.
Yeah, that was crazy. I always like the ones that's like the slot fades or Ridley, just because it was like him making a check at the line and doing like all the quarterback stuff right before like just dropping a perfect throw in like a clutch situation. But then like the like mixed in with that, like that pass to ETN, like scrambling around and just like showing that he's such a gamer and whatever.
Tough dude.
Yeah, that was a fun game.
Yeah. No, I can't disagree. Like sitting here, it's hard for me to think of other games that stack up to that one because I'm with you. The Ravens game wasn't really a complete game and, really put together at the end. Same with, the Cowboys game, at times. I think this game, I probably agree with you, best game of his career because like I said, you just tell in the first 2 drives, like he was just hitting everything.
And the thing is, like, again, like nothing has really changed like through the first month versus like last week. He looks like pretty similar. It's just that like a lot more catches were being made and a lot more
More
blocks.
plays.
And, like things were just kind of clipping around him. But he's been clicking like this the whole season.
Yeah, which is like a scary trajectory for him. And again, it's the most Jaguars thing ever. Best game of a generational quarterback prospect's career. 1 touchdown.
It is crazy.
It's
So
a
like
good
I don't have any doubt that like he might have like multiple games like this season that I'll like then say like, oh, that was the best game, because like if he has like a 3 or 4 touchdown game, then it should be easier to say that than after this week.
No, because I don't even disagree with you.
Yeah.
It's just all right. Defense. You said it was an easy one. I'm not sure I agree, but go ahead. Go ahead. Let me hear it.
Well, I'm cheating. I'm giving it to Mike Caldwell.
Oh God.
I don't know if I'm cheating, but like
Yeah, no, you can give it to Mike Caldwell. You can give it to Mike Caldwell.
He just deserves it. Like
You
were talking
you
about
played
how,
with
like,
my head. I'll be honest. When you said it was an easy one, I didn't even think Mike Caldwell, and I'm like, God, what player? What the hell is he talking about? Go ahead.
Like the way you're talking about like how Trey Herndon had a nice game earlier, and then like the return of Devin Lloyd. Like Lloyd hasn't been like missed that much, partly because like Muma has been pretty solid in his place, and like it's not like there's been like a like glaring weakness in the middle of the defense because they had like a starter go missing, and then like the improvement of the secondary, like because like we expect like players like Tyson and Josh Allen to do really well, but then when other guys like Chad Muma and Trey Herndon and Darius Williams are stepping up across the board, like I just feel like Mike Caldwell deserves like all the credit and more for the Jaguars' win this week, but then just their defensive performance in general this season has been like the fighting Mike Caldwells have been great.
For sure. I'm going to go with, I know he gave up a touchdown, but Tyson Campbell, like several really nice plays in coverage, several times when he was isolated in space against a ball carrier on 3rd down and made the tackle short of sticks. And then several times where he was making an impact in the running game and getting tackles for loss despite being a cornerback, which is like obviously an effect of the entire defense, like plugging gaps and forcing them to bounce outside. But I thought it was a really complete game by Tyson. And the one negative play, oh, wow, you got beat by a consensus top receiver of his generation. Like, come on, that's not really that big of a negative.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's so good at the like, just run defense in general, but even out in open space, like he had a really good play on like Buffalo's first or second 3rd down of the game when Josh Allen had that throw hot and just like get it out to, I think it was Latavius Murray. But like I feel like I haven't seen him miss a tackle in open space like since his rookie year.
Yeah, no, he's been super impressive in that regard. I feel like the last 2 weeks have been a really good 2 weeks for Tyson. Honestly, like I feel like
he was really good for sure.
Yeah, definitely. So maybe a little bit of a lull weeks 2 and 3, but I think he's definitely picked it up the last 2 weeks. Special teams, Brandon McManus made a field goal. I mean, come on, no, come on. Who else?
I didn't have a special teams game ball written down.
You don't have Jacob Harris to use as a crutch this time, dude. Freaking, he had nice coverage on a play. God, yeah. Who had your favorite punt gun this game? Who's gonna get that one, huh? Michael Hasty.
What happened on special teams in this?
Yeah, what did happen on special teams, Gus? You tell me.
Jamal Agnew came back, so Jamal Agnew
did.
There you go.
Okay. Yep. That.
You're the one who said Brandon McManus kicked the field goal. I guess it's not like you had to say
one. Logan Cook had a 60-yard punt.
Oh, that's true. Logan Cook, definitely those special teams are of the season.
No, Agnew was a good pick. Two punt returns for 5 yards. No, that's a good pick. Big impact. I told you to work on your takesmanship, and
I was just gonna say, did you have an offensive player, or were you agreeing with me on Trevor?
I was agreeing with you. It was Trevor. Yeah. I honestly thought you were going to stick to the bit and say Calvin Ridley, which is what I would have done.
I did think about it. I did want to say though, like I think the fact that for both Ridley and ETN, like they had massive fourth quarters. Like you talked about how Ridley had like a bunch of like critical situation plays in the second half. Like so many of his second half catches came on huge 3rd downs, and then like ETN obviously having 2 4th down touchdown runs have over 10 yards. Or
Uh,
was it? It was a 35-yarder and an
like a
11-yarder or a 6-yarder.
6-yarder.
It was a 6-yarder.
Yeah.
Okay, well, he still had 2 fourth-quarter touchdowns. So
Won the game.
I just thought that was like probably the most encouraging part of the offense was that like Lawrence was sick, obviously, and the offensive line did enough. The play calling definitely seemed improved, but just the fact that the Jags were able to kind of like lean on their 2 stars in Ridley and ETN to close out the game was pretty cool to see.
Yeah, I thought, you look and ask, okay, what changed the offense this week? Lawrence had his best game of the year. ETN had his best game. Ridley had his best game. I know it's Cam Robinson's first game, but you can probably assume it probably would have been his best game of the year. Like Fred and Sheriff had his best game of the year. Like just several of the guys who they needed to step up did it. So I'm definitely with you. You have any hot takes to send us out of here?
No,
That's okay. No.
I said it was the best game of Lawrence's career. That was a take.
No, and I'll give you that. I'll give you that. Honestly, I'll for now that qualifies as a hottish take, which by your standards is a pretty burning.
The only person that I saw online that like said like best game of Lawrence's career was JP Acosta. So it's not like everyone's out there saying it.
Look at you two. All right. Well, we'll be back on Friday to preview the Colts Minshew Mania making its way back to Jacksonville. Yeah.
You remember that article, John? The first summer that we worked together. That's pretty much like why I like am doing what I'm doing today. It's because I was like, too many.
I had to think for a second, and I do definitely remember it now.
I said too many people believe. I need to shut this down. I need people to see the truth.
People hated on you, bro.
People saw the truth on Sunday. The truth wears number 16, not number 15.
Says the Gator fan. But nonetheless, we will be back on Friday. Thank you guys for joining us.